Hi, this is James Eng with Old Capital, and today we're going to do a Surviving in Scary Times multifamily edition. And, to start off, we're going to go through sort of where we are in the market today, and then also top 10 things to do in scary times, which is adapted from Dan Sullivan, who runs Strategic Coach. He just put out this, he actually put it out at the beginning of 9/11 or after 9/11 and has reiterated this. So I thought it'd be a good thing to go through for you as owners. So just a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Houston, went to school at UT, did my spent some time at GE Capital for 10 years on the underwriting side of commercial properties through the last recession. And then the last 5 years I've spent at Old Capital originating close to 750 million in multifamily loans, and then also invested in about 6,000 units across 20 plus properties in DFW, Austin, and San Antonio. And so let's just jump into the market update. So this was from a KPMG um, economics pitch, just about where the virus is today in the US and how they essentially are shutting down the country in terms of social distancing, and which is leading to job losses, and which is translating to a large increase in the Dow. You can see here, close to 29,000 down to 18,000. And unemployment, nobody has any idea what the unemployment numbers are going to be, but it looks to be a huge number. All of a sudden, Goldman projected about 2.2 million in unemployment claims in the month of March, I think, coming up. So everybody's expecting Q1 negative GDP, Q2 big negative GDP, and then potentially 3 and 4, Q3 and Q4. And so, this is going to be a tough time going forward. They did project, a little bit of a rebound in 2021 and then potentially coming out of it in 2022. And so, one of the, Neil Balwa talked about how, if he sees two negative quarters of GDP growth, he holds off on any distributions. I think that is prudent. And then, as you can see from this graph, once the positive GDP comes back, most of these expansions have run for 3, 4, 5 years. This one just happened to run for a very long time. And so I think a lot of buying, a lot of selling is going to be on hold here for a little bit. So what are you going to do during this time with negative GDP growth? So I wanted to highlight some of these things for you. Number one, forget about yourself and focus on others. So your tenants, your limited partners, your management company, how are you focused on them? How can you communicate better? Most of this is going to be virtually. How can you prepare them, whether it's phone calls or emails, preparing them for the next 3, 6, 9 months, because there's not going to be distributions. There's not going to be a lot of opportunities really for the properties. So you're going to have to put systems in place and think about, all right, how can I come out of this better? Let's say with your management company, put systems in place. With your investors, put systems in place that allow you to be stronger in the expansion that's coming up. And so how can you become a source of confidence for your tenants, investors, vendors, and start focusing on others? Number two, forget about your commodity and focus on your relationships. So tenants have a lot of choices for apartments, right? So everyone has the same wood flooring, the same cabinets, the same countertops, but then how are you helping your tenants right now? And so how can you help your tenants' relationships with their families and their friends, any virtual amenities? So start focusing on those relationships that you can build with them and start building a community there at your property. Number three, forget about the sale, right? And focus on creating value. So right now, you provide safe and affordable housing, and people are using your business and using your services. And so while many businesses are shut down, you're giving them value every day and night. So, but how can you improve upon that? How can you create more value? How can you show them that you care to retain the best tenants and keep the units in the best possible shape during this downturn? Number four, forget about your losses and focus on your opportunities. So you will have less rental collections. You're going to have delinquencies in the short term, but this correction is going to reset the market, and it will allow the stronger investors to purchase properties at lower prices in the future. So you have to not only be financially prepared, but then also mentally, so that when you see these opportunities, when they arise. Number five, forget about your difficulties and focus on your progress. So, how are you improving the lives of tenants day by day, right? How are you learning new skills personally? After this downturn, you will be a better asset manager, because I think a lot of asset managers maybe went to their property once a month or every other week, but now they're there, weekly, daily, on the phone with their property manager, on their phone with their regional. And so you're going to become a better asset manager coming out of this. And I like the point that he made about resistance. So challenges create resistance. So think about when you're lifting weights, that resistance is making your muscles stronger. This challenge will make your resistance stronger, and you will grow a lot more mentally. Number six, forget about the quote unquote future and focus on today. So, how can you help your tenants today? What do they need today? Whether that's food, whether that's healthcare, whether that's just communication with somebody. Think about what can you do for your tenants today? What can you do for your investors today? You're not sending your investors distributions, but what can you send them in terms of information? How can you make them better investors? What can you impart to them based on what you're learning? A lot of limited partners invest with you as a general partner because they want to learn and be a little bit more on the front line, so that one day they could potentially be general partners. So how are you sharing that information with your limited partners? So focus on your impact today, right? So how can you provide more housing, better housing to more people? Number seven, forget about who you were and focus on who you can be. So before you focused on new deals, what was the next new deal? What's the next deal I'm going to buy, and how I'm going to raise the equity for it? Your challenge was, let's say, competition, because the market was hot. Now it's completely changed. There's not going to be that many deals on the market. You are going to be focused on asset management and capital preservation to make sure that all the money that you raise makes it through this cycle. Your challenge is now in collections, tenant retention, and maintenance of your asset. And a lot of times, like people like Ken McElroy, they came out of property management. And so this is your turn to really learn about property management and improve upon those skills so that you become a better general partner in the next upcycle. Number eight, forget about events, right? And focus on your response to these. So the news has essentially taken over. Everyone's at home. All they're doing is watching the news. And so the next 3 to 6 months, there will be a lot of negativity, but there's a gap between those events and your response. So how can you see more positivity in the world, and also bring that to your tenants and your investors, and focus on how you're going to respond to these things? Number nine, forget about what's missing and focus on what's available. So you might be missing that walk-in traffic, but you can improve your website with virtual tours. You might be missing that ability to evict because the county took it away, but you can work with your tenants to collect rents and focus on other things to bring in that revenue. Number 10, forget about your complaints and focus on your gratitude. So put this lockdown in perspective, right? So you are called to stay home while other generations were called to go to war, to put their lives on the line. So be thankful you have a place to sleep and are providing housing for others. So coming from a place of gratitude, you can be a light for others. And I put on this other resource. It's called findhelp.org. I received an email with it, and you can put in your zip code and put in all the different housing properties there are different food options, goods, healthcare. Saw some things on here about like free Wi-Fi, free cell phones, things like that. It'd be great for your tenants to share. And then if you like this channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to set up some time to talk with me to discuss either buying, selling, refinancing your next multifamily deal, you can reach out via email. Thanks a lot.